I recently was asked about what's the best way to rename digital photos. But the question is, should you rename your digital photos? Join me now as I answer both of these questions. Hi, I'm Mollie Bartelt. I own Pixologie, where we have been organizing people's print and digital pictures for over 10 years. We've learned a few things along the way, especially about renaming digital pictures. My general rule of thumb is don't do it if you don't have to. All right. The naming of your folders, I think, is more important. And in our roadmap to saving your photos once and for all, if you need a copy, check the link down in the description. In the roadmap, editing the name of a digital photo is editing metadata, which is step 7, where you're working with the information that's in your digital file. Okay, so metadata, changing the information, that is like the photo's name, the description, and tags or keywords that you can add. And that's really a step for later on, unless you have nothing else better to do. All right. And when you change the name of your digital photos, you're losing that original name, which might be handy later on if you have to figure out a duplicate situation or bring groupings of digital pictures back together. If you are set on changing the name of your digital photos, I'm going to share with you a few things so that you do it the right way the first time. We're going to talk about when you should rename your digital photos, what never to do when renaming digital photos, and how to use Adobe Bridge. Be sure to hit subscribe and the bell so you can be notified when we upload new videos about saving your family memories. There are definitely some situations where it's good to rename your photos. So here's when I think it is a good idea to rename your digital photos. You've downloaded pictures from some social media site, or somehow these pictures ended up with a long, nonsensical name. Yeah, it's nice to rename those for sure. You find that you're adding photos to a batch you've already worked with, and you want the photos to be in a certain order. Renaming then can be useful. You can also rename your digital photos when you are confident that everything's the way you want it to be, and renaming them is not going to create a problem for you in the future. Here are the things you should not do when you're renaming your digital photos. Changing the names with no rhyme or reason. This is a recipe for a mess later on, and it's so hard to clean that up. You want to use a consistent formula for renaming your pictures. I have one laid out for you here. It has a prefix, a divider, and then a counter. So the prefix usually is the general formula, which some of you will recognize from our folder naming system. And it's going to be the year with the month and the date and some dashes, and a description. The underscore for the divider, and then the counter is just that series of numbers so that your pictures are organized, by number. And a lot of renaming programs will do this for you automatically. One program you never want to use to rename pictures is Windows File Explorer. When you batch rename pictures in File Explorer, the prefix looks nice, but the counter is completely a mess because they use parentheses. Some programs won't recognize or order the parentheses numbers correctly, and that's so frustrating. Is this information helping so far? Give our video a thumbs up because it'll help other people who are in the same situation as you find it. All right, let's talk about using Adobe Bridge. I really like this program, number one, because it's free to use most of the features we care about. It allows you also to reorder pictures. We'll take a look at that in a second. What you need to do is go click the link below in the description for Adobe Bridge and then install it on your computer. During the installation, you'll actually be installing Adobe Creative Cloud and Adobe Bridge. It's just how Adobe works. You have to have both of those. You'll have a login and get yourself all situated and ready to open the program. Okay, we're in Adobe Bridge here, and you can see it looks like a complicated program with a lot of features. We're not going to worry about most everything that you see here. To start off with, This area here in the center is the contents of the current folder you're looking at. And you can see the name of this folder is Photos to Rename. And the path that folder is on the computer is displayed up here. You're going to use this left-hand panel here, the favorites or the folders, to go find the folder of pictures that you want to work with. Once you're there, your pictures will display in the center. All right, and renaming them is actually pretty easy. You could rename one at a time, but nobody should be doing that if possible, okay? It takes a long time to rename a lot of pictures. I'm going to highlight these first 4 pictures. These were downloaded from Facebook maybe or somewhere else. They have that long nonsensical name. So I've selected them and I'm going to right click and I'm going to go down to Batch Rename. And this window comes up and it looks fairly complicated, but I'm going to tell you what you need to focus on. We don't care about presets. We don't care about the destination folder. We want to rename it in the same folder. And we want to create the new file name. You have the ability to add a lot of levels here to your name. So the first thing that's kind of nice is to just use your folder name. All right, so Photos to Rename is the folder name. And you can see down here the current file name is that gibberish name, and the new file name is Photos to Rename. Well, we need that divider, okay? Remember I talked about the divider, and we'll just select text and type in an underscore, all right? So you can see now I have the divider there showing in the preview. And lastly, we need the counter. So here, in Adobe Bridge, the counter is called the sequence number. All right, and you can designate how many digits you want it to be. So right now it's set for 3. We usually like to use 4 or 5, and then that's it. So the new file name, it will be Photos to Rename because I chose the folder name, and then it's set to start at number 1. If you are renaming another batch afterwards, you can change that sequence number to what you need it to be. Now, we don't really want to name our folders Photos to Rename, so we're going to go back to text, and I'll just put Facebook downloads. It could be whatever you want, or it could be, 2023-10 memories. Whatever you want that prefix to be, you type it in there using the text field option. Okay, so I'll click Rename, and now you can see we have these 4 photos renamed, and that's that. The next batch here are my favorite pictures from a trip I went on, and I have the digital files are what the camera named them. And I like leaving them this way because if I ever want to bring back images 93 through 175, they'll all be named correctly and in order. But for some people, they would like to change the name of the pictures, and that's why we're doing this. So I'm selecting all of them, and I'm going to batch rename, and I'm going to put, this was 2023-02 England, favorites. All right. And remember the sequence number, you always want to look at that because it's going to be the next number after the last photo that it renamed. So the point is just make sure to change it back to 1 if you're starting over. Okay, so you can see now my favorite pictures are renamed just like that, and it looks really nice and clean. Now, let's say that this picture was a photo that should have been right up here. Do you see how I moved that photo? There is some sorting options in Bridge that are really useful. In the top right, you're going to see this sort manually or sort by file name. Anytime that you want to rearrange your pictures and rename them, this is a fantastic feature. So see how I pull that picture back up to where I want it to be. Now I'm going to reselect those pictures that were our England favorites, right click, and then batch rename. And I still have the text there. The sequence number I'm going to change back to 1 so that it starts over. Rename it. And now it looks a little funny. Everything looks messed up, but this sorting is on sort manually. If I go to sort by file name, now you can see my pictures are in order, and this photo is in the second place where I wanted it to be. One last thing that I'll point out, since we talked about metadata, and the file name is a piece of metadata, is the metadata panel here on the lower right-hand side. In this area, you can see all the fields of metadata that a photo can have. We really care about the description, and I like to just type in a little bit of the story in the description area. So something like fun market, on the way. I'm sure that I could come up with something more meaningful than that, but that's what I've got for you now. And then the keywords are usually 1 to 2 word phrases, that you might want to find more pictures like it. So this is, for me, a flowers photo. I love taking pictures of flowers, so having a keyword in there is great. I click the check mark, and now this metadata is saved on the original photo in the folder. All right. If I was using some other photo management program, it might not be the same. This Adobe Bridge is a file viewer. So we are looking at a folder of pictures that, we're directly working with. So that's the walkthrough of Adobe Bridge. What did you think? Leave a comment below. I'd love to know if it's too technical for you or if you've got enough to go with it and get those photos renamed. There's so much more to preserving your family photos than renaming them or adding even the metadata. If you're struggling with all of the moving parts of saving your family collection, I'd love to talk with you. I've been doing research calls for like 3 years now, and I always learn something new when I talk with people about the challenges that you're facing. You can see my calendar link down in the description as well. And if you want to learn more about metadata, watch this video next. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you the next time.